Okay, yeah, go ahead. Now that we're talking about, how do you say that last in the array there?
Um,
Oh,
N-
okay.
Nija?
Yeah, Niger, please. I gotcha.
Okay, there we go. Um, yeah,
Cool.
but I
That
tried to run it and it didn't do anything.
um,
So
print. Well, it's just gonna print. It's just okay. Okay, yeah. So you have to
it's just saying command not found.
print.
And I
Yeah.
literally did nothing to it other than change the quotes. Oh, well, I
So
changed.
so you have to call the engine that you want to run the program. So you see in the above examples with character.py, you have to call something first before you can say character.py.
Oh,
So
wait.
you have to call the engine, and the engine is Python.
Not Python.
Yeah. So you have to type in Python space magic.py in order for it to run in Python.
Oh, okay.
And then you have an error,
But no.
non-ASCII character at line 3. Okay, so go into your array there and scroll along there. And
Is it because there's spaces?
shouldn't be because there are spaces. You may have a double quote or an extra comma in there somewhere. It could be the
Is it this
upside
one?
down question mark.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going to the very end of that.
Oops.
Okay, yeah. So try running it now. Save that and try running it again.
Uh,
Remember, you have to call the engine first.
oh, shoot. It's giving me numbers, not.
Well, you said print x there, and x is that random integer that you assigned. So if you just took off that line 8, if you commented that out, then it would give you the answer to your question.
Is it the hashtag?
Yep.
Here, let's save. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the same one as before.
Hmm?
There we go. It just gave me three and then WWJD
Yes.
twice
Okay.
in a row. And so I did again to make sure it was actually working.
Random. Yep. Yep. Okay. Cool. So yeah, that gets the job done for kind of learning how random works and how you can kind of make a little program to um, perform a task for you. I wrote up a couple of let me. Are you still there? Apparently, I lost him on the call. Let me get him back here. Are we back? Sorry, I something failed on my end. Suddenly everything went white, and then Jesus was here, and he was like, "Kenny, stop doing cocaine," and I was like, "What?" Um, oh, yeah, no, exactly. It was like, "What would Jesus do?" And I was like, "Cocaine, at least a kilo of it." Okay, so um, I don't know what the last thing you heard, but that kind of should help kind of demonstrate how you can use random values to produce a result for you, right? So a little program that can do things for you that you don't have to make decisions for it. It'll make decisions for you. Um, and so, yeah, that's a good segue into the next little portion here. I'm gonna share with you my screen so that you can. I went ahead and wrote up. What the heck? Okay. So I wrote up who the. Okay, sorry. I'm feeling slightly retarded right now. Okay. For some. Hey, there we go. So last time we left off, we did this whole taco stuff, and with tacos we get, and I figured out the easy way of getting it to print off everything in the array, so I could say, with tacos we get cheese, shell, lettuce, meat, diarrhea, salsa, and string it all end to end. Yeah, to do that, I just took this original string value of with tacos we get, and then for each value in that array, I said, okay, just concatenate, add that on to the end. So I have z, which is the sentence, and we want that to equal z plus y. So y is the new value in the array. So first one is cheese, and then shell, and then lettuce, and then meat, and then diarrhea, and then salsa. But I did something else with this. I put it inside of an if else. And I did this so that once it got to the end, once it got to salsa, it didn't do another comma space. I wanted it to just end, right? So there isn't an extra comma here. So I just said, okay, I need to know what the length of this array is. So how many indexes are there in this array? So I used a command called len, which is length. So I said, okay, x is now going to equal the length or the size of this array. Okay, and then, yep. So I said, okay, what's the size of this? And then I called another variable, called it big, and said, okay, I want the very last index of this array. So even though, like, I think this has like 6 different indexes to it, if I were to do the length of that, it would return back the value of 6, because that's how big it is. Even though the index values start at 0 and go up to 5, there are still 6 total indexes being used. So I can't just say, I want you to grab taco stuff of x because x equals 6, and there is no index of 6 in taco stuff. There's an index of 5, but not 6. So it becomes a little bit of an overlap that makes it a bit confusing, but you'll see a lot of this x minus 1 or a value minus 1, and that's just trying to get the very last index value of an array. So I'm just saying, okay, this new value big is going to equal the very last value inside of taco stuff. So I could now change the length of taco stuff, and I don't have to do anything else to the rest of the code, right? So if I were to change this and say midgets, okay, and then I were to run this program, it's going to concatenate midgets onto the end, putting a comma after salsa, but nothing else. Anything I want. So this could be like a value, a string of values that is coming from a different website, and I don't want to sit there and type it in all day, so I just add it to the end of this index or of this array, and I've already done the code to figure out the max value that it is regardless of its dynamic value. It can be 13,000 indexes long, or it could be 6 indexes long. It doesn't really matter. Anywhere in there, I've programmed around it, so now it's doing extra work for me. So the first getting the length of taco stuff, so now the length of it is 7. So it's saying, okay, I want you to go to taco stuff and find the very last value of it. So if I know that it's 7 indexes long, then the 7th index placeholder is always going to be length or size minus 1. Because you start at 0, but this is counting from 1. So I'm saying, okay, with that value, do that minus 1, and that's going to be the very last index of the array. And I'm saying, okay, now I'm going to use this value to determine everything else. So right here I have if y equals big, which is this, which is taco stuff with the very last index. So if big equals midgets, then I'm going to just say z, which is with tacos we get z plus y. So it's going to be the same sentence plus this value, midgets. So I'm not saying to print this sentence over and over. I'm just saying add to it. Like if I were to say right here, print z, and then down here print z, then each time it goes through this, it would print it, and you would see it getting bigger and bigger as it goes, right? So we have, with tacos, we get cheese, cheese shell lettuce, all the way up to midgets. So since I'm not telling it to, yeah, I mean, in the background, it's adding to it, right? In the background, it is doing all of this. I'm just not caring about it until I say afterwards, after you're all said and done and you've stopped adding, now I want you to tell me what it is. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, this, I'm actually not even using this. So if I comment that out and run this again, it's the same result. Yeah. So it's a very useful thing to be able to make sure that you don't miss any values if values are added later that you're not aware of. This will always pick up the entirety of the array, and now you can do whatever it is that you want. And this makes it so that if, say you're running a forum, and you want to make sure that certain words of the forum are not being used, like for some reason you have an adversity towards penguins, and someone keeps typing penguin out to piss you off, you can say, okay, every time someone types in penguins, I'm going to do this, run this program. It's going to take every word from their sentence, and once it comes across penguin, I'm going to change the word penguin to don't mind me, I'm retarded. And so if I were to do something like that, so if I were to say right here, if y equals big, actually instead of doing this, if y equals diarrhea, then I'm going to z plus don't mind me, I'm retarded. So here we go. If I said, okay, if it equals, what is it, salsa? Diarrhea, okay. Then it's going to remove that, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So every time someone types it in, it's going to come back and say, okay, here's what they said. And, oh, like I said, diarrhea, and I don't like diarrhea, so it's going to say, don't mind me, I'm retarded. So now it doesn't matter how big this is. I can do things with whatever content is there. We should start work on Halloween. I have no idea what that is. Sorry, someone from. Go ahead.
After retarded, can you do a comma and a space?
Yep. So I could do that, and then don't mind me, I'm retarded. Space salsa midgets.
So added the comma on the end of midget.
Yeah. So I
That
that's because when I removed this, I removed the midgets condition, because this was y equals big, and big is the last value in the array. So because I got rid of that, the last value is midgets. I'd have to put in another if for that one specifically. So yeah, that's something that's very helpful for information that's getting very large, but you need to handle it the same way each time. It makes it so that it doesn't matter how large the input is, you can do the same thing to it at all times. Okay, so I made a couple of examples of your 8-ball program using these two those two other ways that I asked you to take a look at.
The two correct ways you mean?
Not correct ways, just different ways. So in one of them, I wanted to be able to say something like, just want to make sure you can see this here. I wanted you to do something like, Python 8ball.py, and then say something like, why is my wiener so small? And then you hit enter, and it would come back and say, here's the answer to your question. So that was one. The other one, I wanted to see if you could do like a Python 8ball.py, and then it would say something like, it would give you like these characters underneath, and you'd have to type it in and say, rar, my question is tacos, and it would come back and say something to you. So,
You could just keep doing that.
yeah, you could,
You just ask a question and hit enter.
yeah.
Okay.
So here's one example. This is going to use a command line argument. I'll show you how this works, but I'll run it first. And don't pay any attention to this funny business here. I'll run it first and kind of show you how it works. So I'm going to do Python arguments.py, and then say, what are you wearing? Okay. And so your question is, what are you wearing? My answer is, I cannot tell, but lift your shirt a little higher and I will be able to see better. Okay. If I were to run the same thing again, I could get a different answer. What makes you think I would know? Okay. And so with that one, I'm saying, okay, here are the list of outcomes like you have. Right, and I put mine, I put in like leave me the hell alone, things like that. So you can have the outcomes be whatever it is that you want, but here I'm doing that same thing as I was doing before. I was getting the length of the size of the array of outcomes. I'm saying the response size equals to length of outcomes. And now I'm defining main, this main program here, and saying, okay, with main, I'm going to introduce a question. This question variable is going to come back and it's going to be printed on this first line saying your question is, here's the question. And then I'm going to do a random integer between 0 and this max value size that you return back to me. Okay, and so with that random integer, it's going to come back and it's going to print the outcomes index of that random integer, which is x.
So it actually won't show your question on the when you run it, correct?
No, it does show. What I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, your question is, and then I'm putting in this plus here, and this plus here is saying, okay, whatever is here, I want to add to it, but I don't know what it is because it's dynamic, it changes. So I'm using a plus here to say, okay, I'm going to take the string value of this question and return it back. Because I don't know if this would work, but if I did Python arguments for, oh, okay, it does return, or I guess because this is still a,
What is that?
str just means convert whatever this value is to a string. It looks like it's already doing that automatically. I did it just as a just in case. So if I wrote it like this, it would still come back and say, your question is question, which is being passed in with question here, but we still don't know exactly what question is, right?
Right.
So down here is where we get kind of the trick for it. I've imported something here called sys, and sys is like a library like we did with random, right? So it's something else that exists within the Python library that you kind of have to go and discover and figure out, which is why Googling is so important. So you import this sys, and you say, okay, I want to incorporate some sort of command line argument. And that's where I got this sys.argv1 from. If you go and you Google how to incorporate command line arguments into your Python program, you'll come back with something that looks akin to this. And what this is saying is that when you type out a command line argument, you have the command for the engine, right? You have the name of the program, and then you have other things, right? And then you can have more other things. Okay? So you can have all these other things that are being brought into it. And I'm saying that, or the way that the system reads this, the way that Python reads this, is that it says, okay, here's the engine, and everything after that is going to be in its own array. Okay, and the first index value of that array is going to be this first value. And then when there's a space, I'm going to create a new index for the next value. And then I'm going to create a new index of the next value. And it's going to keep doing that until it's out of values to index. And so here I'm saying, okay, I want you to grab the first, or the one index, or the index value of 1 from the command line. So here we have the engine, and then this is the index value of 0, and this is the index value of 1. So I'm saying return back this value, or I'm going to be using this value for something. So here I'm saying, okay, I'm going to run main. Whenever this program is called, I'm going to run main, and main's going to grab this sysargv1 value, and it's going to use it as question. I know that seems very confusing and convoluted. So let's let me try something. Other things. Okay, so for here, I've given it 2 command line arguments, right? So I said Python, that's the engine, the name of the program, arguments.py. So right now in this, let me copy this. That's not helpful. Okay, I'm sure I got it. So just remember that there's Python arguments.py, other things in waffle, right? So we have Python arguments.py, other things, waffle. So the way that the system sees this, sees Python as the engine, okay? But now it sees an index, or an array, where arguments.py goes here, other things goes here, waffle goes here. And if I had more things on the end here, like, then it would include those. So now I can call on any of these during the program if I need to, right? So if I were to change this value to a 2, I'm going to be saying, okay, I want the second index of the array to return back to me. So let me. Oh, that's not what I wanted.
Is there an undo command, like if you accidentally delete something?
Control Z, or it might be Command Z on yours. So if I were to run that, it comes back and says your question is waffle, because I changed the index value that I was searching for to 2, because that's the second thing. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So now let's see what happens, because in this one, there's 0, 1, 2. Let's see what happens if I change this to 3. list index out of range, saying, okay, there is no third index, so I don't know what the hell you're looking for, but stop being retarded. That's essentially what it's saying. Um, but now you could grab anything off the command line and use it at your leisure. So if I were to put in 0 here, it should just say the name of the program. Yeah, arguments.py. And that's all because I imported this sys library. And this sys library is saying, okay, with sys, there is a function called argv, where it grabs things off of the command line and lets you do things with them. Argv, yep. So with that, I can say, okay, well, if I do argv1, because I want to be able to ask it a question, I can say, hey, Python, arguments, why is my poo red? And it'll respond back, what the hell is wrong with you? Okay. It is pretty fitting. Okay, so that's one way to do it, and we're going to go into a little bit more of how that is possible, or how that can be useful to you, kind of from your sense, in just a second. But I want to show you the other way of doing it, and this one, let me. So I still got the same outcomes, and I still got the same length. I'm still doing the random integer to grab back the random value. But here I'm doing Python user, and I'm not gonna put any arguments on here. I'm just gonna hit enter, and it's gonna say, "What is your question?" Type your question, hit enter. And so you can say like, when was the last time I had a good date? And it'll come back and say, I cannot tell, but lift your shirt a little higher and I'll be able to see better. Okay. And also I did something else with it. So if I do this, right, and it says type your question, hit enter. Suppose I don't put anything in there, and I leave it blank. So if I hit enter, you were supposed to say something. So it recognizes that it was blank and says, what the hell? Why are you wasting my time? And right in this if else. So I'm saying, okay, I have this raw input command, which is part of the Python library. I had to look it up, but I basically say, okay, with raw input, I am waiting for the user to hit enter before I proceed on with the next step. So I'm giving this a variable value of y, or a variable of y, and saying for y, I want you to assign y the value of whatever it is that they input. And so I'm printing out this right here, and I'm demanding raw input as a result. And that's what y is going to equal. And so right here I'm saying, okay, if y, which is whatever it is that I type in, does not equal this, which is nothing, then I'm going to do my dice roll, and I'm going to come back with an answer. Otherwise, if it's nothing, I'm going to print, you were supposed to say something. So now, so now I can put in this and say, wow, Owen Wilson. And it gives you back an answer. Go ask a grown-up. So those are kind of two ways that you can approach this. You can program in pauses in the program, which will, like, this will sit here and hang. Like, this will sit here waiting for an input indefinitely. Like, if I were to leave and come back tomorrow at the same time, this would still be blinking waiting for an input. As far as the computer is concerned, the program is not done running, but it can't continue running or progressing in the code until it receives some sort of user input. I don't think it's upset. Let me check real quick. It doesn't appear to be mad. you'd be seeing like things spiking up and like freaking out over here, and then eventually it would spell down here in memory, "What the hell is wrong with you? Stop it, you a-hole!" But it's not doing that. So, um, but I can also quit out of this. I can hit Control C, and it's going to break out of it, and it's going to throw back an error and say, "Look, I was expecting a user input, and I didn't get it. I have a keyboard interrupt instead." So that's why I exited out. So those are two ways that someone could approach doing the 8-ball scenario, which requires the user to actually type in the question as opposed to saying it out loud. Okay.
You wouldn't. Okay.
And then, I mean, because of the day and age that we live in, you could then take whatever it is that they've input, send it somewhere else, and then use it for spyware or advertisement or whatever the hell it is that you want to do to make their lives a little less comfortable while you use their question of funness to now make money off of them. Go team, right? Okay. So I'm going to kind of show you how this right here, this random.randint and this sys.argv, how these are things and why these are things. Okay. So let's create a new program, and we're gonna define a new function, a new method, and we're just gonna call it, for the sake of making this easier to understand, we're gonna call this Baloo. Is that how you spell Baloo? Okay, if it's not, then that's Baloo now, or Baloo, whatever. Let me save this real quick as a Python file. So I have this definition of Baloo, and I'm going to have it use an argument that I'm going to pass into it. And I'm going to say, not print, let's just have a variable of x, okay? And we're going to have it print x for us. And that is all that we're going to have it do, okay? Actually, I shouldn't have called it that. Did you name your file Baloo? You did. Okay, let's actually call it the method or this function. Let's call it something else, like Mowgli. Okay. Just go ahead and save that. So Baloo.py now has Mowgli. Huh?
You want a cookie, Timmy?
Yeah, would you just shove it in through the CD slot of your computer? I'd appreciate that. I barely fit into. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I'm recording this. So, of all the other things that we've said, that's the one that crosses the line, I guess. So we're going to actually create a new file from here. Yeah, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it. junglebook.py. Now, something that we want to do is we want to be able to use Baloo.py in junglebook.py, okay? And we don't want to have to copy code from Baloo.py into junglebook.py. We just want to be able to call Baloo.py and say, hey, you have a method that I've already written. I want to use that again, but I don't want to write the code over again. So what we're going to do is in Baloo.py, we have to register this program to our local Python engine and say, just so you know, this has stuff in it, and I want you to search for it whenever I call for it. And so Python goes, yeah, okay, I'll add that to my directory, my phone book. And so we're going to do at the bottom here, we're going to do an if, and this is going to be the same command in every Python program that you write, so it's important to remember it. You can actually see it there in the pop-up. It's that second one down, if main name main. So if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals and then underscore or space quote underscore underscore main underscore underscore. Yeah, so you want to have a space there in between the if and the first underscore. Yep. And yep. And then make sure you do a colon at the end there for an if statement. Okay, we're going to hit enter, and it's going to go down and tab in. We're going to say Mowgli, and then do opening, closing, parens. Okay. Now, this is a very important line of code that does a lot. And the full encompassing effect of what it does, we're not going to go into because it would take hours to cover. But essentially, you're saying this file is now part of my Python, local Python directory. And anytime I call on the file Baloo, specifically Mowgli of Baloo, I want you to run this. Okay, so we're going to go back over to Jungle Book, and we're going to say Baloo dot Mowgli does this print. Okay, and I'm going to run this because I have no idea if this is going to work. Baloo is not defined. Son of a bitch. Do I need to import it? Import Baloo. Yeah, okay. So that's what I forgot. So now I'm saying I want to import Baloo. And Baloo is this program over here. Because I've said, hey, put this in your index. And by doing that, I've said, okay, I want to be able to import this. So I'm importing this entire, it's almost like we've copied this entire thing and pasted it over here without actually having to paste it. Yeah, go to your baloo.py file. X. Try putting a space after the underscore and the, yeah. Yeah, save that and run it. You have to Python junglebook.py. Python. Or you're in the Python text editor thing right now, so you have to escape out of that. Yeah. See, you see the three arrows pointing to the right? So you have to either hit Command Z or I think it's exit with parens. Do I? Try Control Z then. There you go. Okay. So, yeah, you're saying in Jungle Book, import Baloo, and using Baloo, I'm going to call Mowgli, which is a method. So yeah, switch over to your junglebook.py tab. Yeah. So you're saying I want to use Baloo, and in Baloo there's a method called Mowgli, and because Mowgli is expecting an argument to be passed along to it, and then Mowgli then prints something, it's actually printing this not from junglebook.py but from baloo.py. Because this is where you're saying print, and here on the command line is where it's printing. However, in junglebook.py you don't have any print statement, so why is it printing?
I don't know.
Because it's coming from this baloo.py file that you're calling here. So, which is X, yep. So you're saying Mowgli X, print X, and over here I'm calling baloo.mowgli, and Mowgli here requires X, and then it prints X, which is this, does this print. So now what you can do is after you write a specific, yep.
That was like the first thing that actually made sense.
Okay. Let's just bask in it for a second. Okay. Also, what this allows you to do is,
Does that have anything to do with Jungle Book?
no,
No, you could just rock out and what is it called?
comment out?
Hashtag out?
No. So this makes it so that you, I believe this has to be there. So if we were to comment this out, oh, it still does print. Never mind. I'll research more into what this if name main. For now, I would recommend just putting it at the bottom of all your Python files. Yes, it does have a value to it. And I believe if, actually it might be for more complicated things. So if I were to say def snake y print y def Robin Hood Paco oh, it's requiring an argument. Am I not? Okay. Okay. So if you have a file that's has a bunch of different methods, so say all these were going to do different things other than print, okay? But I wanted to keep everything of this kind in the same place. Like say you have a bunch of statistics calculations, and you wanted to keep them all in the same file, but you didn't want them to be tripping over each other. You could define them out as being different methods in that program. And then what you're saying with this if name equals main, you're saying when you run this command, I want you to do whatever is here. Okay, so I could say, let's take these off. So now it's not going to print out Snake or Robin Hood. It's just going to print out, well, it's just going to print waffles once. Because I'm saying call Mowgli using value of x, and Mowgli is the only one being defined here. But if I were to say snake x, then I would have printed it again. And if I were to say Robin Hood x plus rar, then it would print x, and then snake x, and then Robin Hood x plus rar.
You wouldn't do snake y?
No. So the variable is to be used inside of the method or the function itself. But it's requiring something, and so since x is already defined, I'm just using that. So we could change this to make it less confusing and say superheroes. And we could, what the hell? Tacos are delicious. Taco Tuesday! So you have waffles, superheroes, and tacos are delicious. Which is what we're saying here, but when we run the program, because the name of the program is being called, it's going to run this main, this is the main class of this file. Even though there are 3 different methods, we're saying this is the one that you need to run. Even though these, yeah. Yeah, so I can do something like this, right? And this is just going to print off snake. But now, over in Jungle Book, if I want to use snake, I can do this and run Jungle Book, and it's just going to print out, does this print, because snake, yeah, y, and print y. So, yeah, you can put, like, all these programs that we've been doing, you can put all of them into the same file, and then importing that file, and then calling on the individual methods to run your programs. Yeah, it makes it cleaner, a little bit easier to access. Because if you know all particular programs or methods are in the same file, you don't have to go around hunting for them and figuring out where you put it. They're all right there. So moving forward, what we'll probably do is we'll make one giant file and put all of our definitions underneath that one giant file. And then as we need to use particular methods from that file, we'll use this behavior to do that. Okay? Cool. I think we'll call it good there for tonight. The homework that I'd like to give to you, since you already don't have enough with your 3 or 4 hours of statistics each night. Okay, I just want you to make a file with a bunch of different methods that can use the same variables or different variables. It's really up to you. That I can then import on my side and run, and each method should work just fine. I'm going to probably have you email me the file, and I'll download it and reference it. Yeah. Yep, I'll I'll email you this page and I'll upload the video and send you the link to the video.
One other thing, when pools like 4 or 5 turns often,
Okay.
and I can usually figure it out, but it'd be nice to know what you're saying.
Okay. What terms?
I should have written them down.
Okay. Index, array,
Yes,
um, method or function,
yes, yes,
um, library.
okay.
I'm guessing. I'm asking. Is that one of them?
They were, yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think of words that might be able to be interpreted differently.
So I want to find the definition of those and like type it out in a Word document. Will you also send me those general terms that you?
Wait, do you want me to explain these further, or do you want to research them and figure them out for yourself?
I want to figure them out.
Okay. I will send you this whole thing. I'm going to comment this out.
You're gonna give me homework.
Well, I thought that's what you were saying, is that you wanted some additional clarification, so I was going to type up some documentation. But
Beneficial
okay,
type on them.
okay. Study these things. Okay, I will send over this file to you, and yeah.